Hey everybody, and welcome back to another book review. So I just finished an audiobook that was suggested to me. The series itself was suggested to me by a friend from high school. So shout out to Tiara. But like, I was really excited to read it. She reads a lot of books and I read a lot of books, obviously. But she was really excited about it and kept posting about this book. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, no, it's really, really good. So I needed an audiobook for my drives to work. So I don't know if I've mentioned this, but a lot of my audiobooks, when I'm driving to work, so a lot of times when it's like something that's a little bit more academic or dull, tends to be when I do more audiobooks. So I don't frequently do novels as audiobooks, but I needed something for my drive to work and for when, I'm working around the house or whatever. And so I was like, well, since I have the time, let me go ahead and like fully audiobook this one. And I don't have a copy of it yet because I haven't bought it yet. But so the book is Assistant to the Villain by Nicole Maher. This is a very recent book series that has come out. And originally, I think, if I read things correctly online, it started out as like a TikTok series, and then like she actually wrote it into an actual book. It is an interesting book, interesting concept. Love the concept. It very much gives like the Ella Enchanted like 2000s movie with Anne Hathaway. It definitely gives that vibe, which I love. I just kind of love the idea of kind of making it a little bit of a fairy tale world, but not. So the story is about a girl named Evie Sage who is just out looking for a job, and she winds up getting a job with this guy who is just known as the Villain. It takes her a long time to find out that his name is Tristan, but most everybody calls him the Villain, and he is and has been billed as this villain that is terrorizing the kingdom and has been terrorizing the kingdom for like a decade. And so like people are just terrified of this man. And so everybody just has like all these ideas about who the villain is. Nobody's ever actually seen him except for his employees, obviously, and the king, who is the one that is spreading all this propaganda about the fact that like there's this evil person that is just terrorizing the kingdom. And so as Evie goes into this man's employ, she learns that yes, he is villainous and malevolent and all that, but he does a lot of things for good reason. It's not just that he's just like, oh, I feel like killing people today. It's usually like there's usually a reason. He doesn't kill people who are innocent. He doesn't go after people who have caused or have been an effect of somebody else's actions or anything like that. He really kind of just goes after people that either are trying to harm him or trying to harm other people. And so like Evie learns that like, yes, he is evil and he does an awful lot of killing, but like he's really not that bad of a guy. And then on top of that, she's falling in love with him. And then of course he's falling in love with her. So there's that whole kind of like they have this like office tension going on. So when I was prepping to listen to the audiobook, read the book, I was like, oh, this is a really cool concept. So I give the book a 3. This is the first book in the series. I do plan to read the rest of the series because the book left on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, but wait. And I actually am going to probably purchase this series to add to the collection behind me, but also because the audiobook, the person that's reading the audiobook, her name is like M something. Terrible reader. Like I've never heard somebody read so deadpan. And I've listened to quite a few audiobooks over the last couple of years, and there have definitely been a few that I'm just like, oh my gosh, you are just really droll. But like she took droll to a new level. I was like, maybe I'll just audiobook the whole series, and then I realized she reads the rest of the series, and I was like, I absolutely cannot sit through another book with her. So But because of that, that's part of the reason I give it a 3. But also, there is an awful lot of just like chunkiness with this author and her writing. It's like there's a lot of pieces that are missing, and I was like, wait, how did we get to this point? You know, and I know that like at some points there were like these little hints and things dropped about certain actions that might be taken later, certain events that might happen later. Like there's a lot of hinting at stuff, but then there were just other times where I'm like, wait, how did we get here? So there was a lot of just gaps in the storyline, gaps in the plot, some of which were intentionally put in to get filled in later, but many, I think, like literally you just missed that you had written this piece and now it's just kind of floating out in the air. So there's that part of it. This was also in multiple locations described as The Office, but like The Office meets like fairy tale, and that's not at all the vibe I was getting. And I've watched a good chunk of The Office, and shows very similar to The Office, and that's just not the vibe that this is given. This is really giving, like I said earlier, Ella Enchanted with Anne Hathaway. That is what this is giving. Or even the Roger and Hammerstein Cinderella with Brandy and like Bernadette Peters and Whoopi Goldberg and all them. Like, you know, it's giving this like, it is kind of fairy tale-esque, you know, there's magic and there's a villain and, you know, evil and all the things, but then it just kind of has a lot of modern pieces to it. They talk about her outfit, and as I was listening to the descriptions and things, the way that it was described, I just kept seeing all these like very 1760s, 1770s dresses and outfits and things, and what the men were wearing, except that a good chunk of them were wearing leather, but like a lot of waistcoats that were like brightly vibrant and all that, you know, so there was a lot of description that was very 1700s to me. But then, like, you know, it was like her stilettoed heel, and I'm like, so she's wearing stilettos while walking through the woods? That doesn't make sense. So there's that. Also, as we know, I do love being able to like mentally think through casting and stuff when I read books, and with this one, some of the descriptions I was just like, yep, I could see, you know, this actor or this actress, but a good chunk of them I couldn't, which was very interesting for me because, you know, like they were describing the villain and all I was getting was a friend of mine, Adam. Like that's all I could picture, and I was like, I could see Adam playing this role, but that would be weird. You know, but also not weird, because I think he would do an amazing job. Or, you know, like there was this other character, Tati, she's like the healer or whatever, and she's described as wears pink a lot and has braids and things like that, and like I just, outside of, you know, her generalized description, I was like, this could literally be any black actress, you know, like it's just, the descriptions just left me like really reeling. So there was that piece of it. But like also this would be very interesting if it, you know, ever did get turned into like an actual movie, or I think it would probably actually be better as a series. There's just so much that happens in the book that like you cannot do, like if you tried to do a movie, you would be cutting out so much stuff. So all of that to say, not a bad book. Like I said, I give it a 3. I like the story. I like the concept. Love that it ended on a cliffhanger where like you actually care about like what's happening. But like I said, there's just a lot of plot holes that just felt very choppy and felt like I was missing a lot of information. And I really do feel like the author may go back and add to that or fill in a lot of those gaps as she did in this piece of it, but like a good chunk of it I think she's just going to leave floating. So like I said, I do plan on getting like physical copies of the rest of the series, because I absolutely cannot sit through this person reading ever again. Like, just absolutely terrible. Like, there was no difference, like, and I think part of it is just because, I'm a theater person, but I need to hear differences in different character voices. Like, all the women cannot sound all the same and all the men cannot sound all the same. Like, it just doesn't work that way. But, like, all the characters sounded exactly the same. And it was very confusing when you have, a scene where there's 4 or 5 characters and 3 of them are men and 2 of them are women, and I don't know the difference. Like, it just very frustrating in that, and listening to that. So like I said, I will definitely read it on my own. And I would also happily record this book for anyone else, so that no one else has to listen to this, because it's so bad. But yeah, so we'll definitely be finishing this series, probably not anytime soon, but I will definitely be getting actual physical copies to read versus listening to it. But yeah, there you have it. Assistant to the Villain, which is the beginning of the Assistant to the Villain series, by Hannah Nicole Maher. Again, like I said, give it a 3. Good book. Like the concept, love the characters. Terrible audiobook. And lots of plot gaps. So there you have it. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you feel so emboldened, you can like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you, those of you that have popped over from my husband's channel, Cheshire's Top Cat. Love having you all here as well. And of course, comment any books or anything below. They get added to the list. I know it takes me forever to get to books that are added to lists and things like that, but I usually try and get to as many as possible, and we're still working from the bottom of the list up. So there you have it. And I think that's it. So I will see you all in the next book review. Bye!